What's up everybody, welcome back to another episode of Import Modify. We're gonna go ahead and check out the Honda Prelude behind me for the first time. Last episode y'all saw me buy it, and now I need to go through it and see what we got, what I need to get in order to make this thing reliable and drivable. But I did pull the trigger on a couple of items because I knew that I would need them, and that is a new set of tires, and I went ahead and got some used H22 injectors just in case that I am right about the theory of what's going on with this thing behind me. When you give it partial throttle, it drives fine. You give it more than partial, it starts to bog down. Now I did scan the check engine light, and I do have a rich code along with a couple other codes for the transmission. But speaking of the transmission, I actually have an extra one that a customer of mine, he just gave it to me. So I do have an extra transmission in case we need to swap that out as well. But we just need to see exactly what's going on with this car, the condition underneath, things that we can't see from the top side. Let's lift it up, look from the bottom side, see what's going on, and hopefully things ain't too bad. So let's go ahead, get this thing up on the lift and check it out. All right, so we're gonna start at the back of the car, and it looks like we have a rigged up exhaust system. Don't look like it belongs for this vehicle. As you can see, the hangers are welded on other hangers, and it looks like it's welded up back here. And as you can see, it's low, it's scraping right there. So we have to remedy that. And looking at the suspension, guys, it looks like we have Tokiko Blues with some drop springs, some pretty big drop springs, because you see how they're coiled up really close up there. That means that it drops it quite a bit. So it's like that all the way around. And this explains the crappy feeling I was getting on this side. Is this strut here is blown. So as you can see, needs to be replaced. Looking at the exhaust system right here, it looks like they welded in a glass pack or some kind of resonator of some sorts. And as you can see, it's scraping. So that is due to it being low, and the flex pipe as well. And there's the leak, because I was noticing I had oil spots on the ground like that. It seems to be leaking pretty well, so I hope that it isn't cracked, but let's go ahead and clean this up with some brake cleaner and see if we can see any cracks. This is actually the satisfying part. I like cleaning parts with brake cleaner. Look at that, just takes it right off. Tell you guys what, one of my biggest expenses here at the shop is brake cleaner. So I do charge a little bit of a shop supply fee so that it helps me cover these expenses, because you can actually go through this stuff pretty quick. All right, let's see if this is loose at all. It's tight. I hope it's not the pan. I really hope it's not the pan. Okay, I'm gonna give this a second and just let, you know, gravity do its thing and see where oil comes out. It may have a crack in it, but let's just wait on that and see. All right, so moving on now to the steering. Let's figure this out. Okay, here's the rack. And look at that. The outer tie rod is not, snugged up and tightened up. That can be an issue. Oh, that's that noise. The actual rack is not solidly mounted, and it looks like it's missing a bushing. Is this where it's coming from? Right there. You see that? See, sway bar bushing looks okay. It looks like it needs to be replaced. End links, they ain't the best, but they're still there. CV axle looks good. CV axle looks okay. CV axle looks good. CV axle looks okay. All right, well, that's the underneath of it, and let's go ahead, lower it down. I noticed that there is some hacked up wiring. Let's figure out what they did with that and what we're gonna do to fix it, right? As you can see there is a huge gap. Now imagine how this suspension travels as you hit bumps and everything, right? There's a lot of that stroke of the suspension that is not being put to use. It's just slammed. It's on the bottom. It's on the bottom stroke, and it's just, the rod is just bottoming out inside the strut itself. And like the blown one we had on that side, that's what happens if you don't have bump stops in there. And now that I look at it, screw this, man. I'm gonna get coilovers for this, even if I have to get a cheaper set. So look at that. You saw the gap. Now look at that gap. That's how much suspension is not used in that strut travel. It's all the way bottomed out, and it's not doing any work. The strut can't work on the bottom of the stroke as well as it can in the middle where it's supposed to be at. This suspension is junk. That's why I said in that episode that it was junk. It's because that's the reason why it's junk. All right, so let's go under the footrest area and look and see what ECU we have. Now I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the factory stuff. All right, so I took the ECU out of the bracket just so I can read this thing correctly, because upside down with a mirror, it's just, I was having a hell of a time. P5M A52. Now I looked on the internet and it has an A52 as an auto for OBD1. I don't think that's correct. I think that's a mess up on the internet. Yeah, so OBD1 ECU auto A52. A52. Yeah, I think this is wrong. Some of this wiring over here looks like they have halo style headlights. I can't stand these things. These have to go. I found a set that I like. They are blacked out around the outside, but you know, clear in the center, and I think I'm gonna go with those. And I can get rid of all this stuff right here, clean up this wiring. The horn, they got that wired into that button, and this one right here, it's not working now. There it is. Because of the steering right here. Speaking of the steering wheel, I mean, it's got that cool Ricer Honda Boy look, and I do kind of like it, honestly. Think it's all right, but you know me, I like to wheel and deal a lot, and I was wheeling and dealing, and I got a different steering wheel. It's a Momo, but it has the Honda airbag. So let's do a little comparison real quick. So you got Ricer Boy Honda right here, and you have Momo factory airbag. Dude, this looks way better. Man, this is going in. We're gonna install this. Okay, we'll put that in that car. That belongs in there. Hell yeah. Come up. Wheeled and dealed on that. Got it. We're good. Also, automatic transmission. It shifts hard. It was actually a quart low, so I filled it up, and I have not yet driven it. But guess what? Got another auto trans for free. So this thing continues to act up. I'll just swap in another auto transmission for the time being, just to get this thing up and rolling and riding right. So those of y'all seeing the car for the first time, this thing has a blue top H23A swap in it from the Honda Accord SIR overseas, and I do believe it's got the bigger injectors on it that come with this engine, and they didn't swap it out whenever they did the swap. Now with the bigger size injectors and a factory ECU, that would explain the overrich condition that it's getting. That's why I ordered the H22A injectors. Looking at the front end of the vehicle right here, that's not attached, so it needs to be reattached. Of course, all the wiring right here needs to be all cleaned up. And I'm probably going to get rid of those factory horns and get some of the more better looking ones like I got on my BMW. So probably going to do that. And who knows what they've done with the horn circuit. Hopefully they didn't mess with it, so when I put the other steering wheel in, it'll work. But looking at the horns itself, I'm going to have to rewire those in. So let's go ahead and open the trunk and see what's in there. So the car does have factory Honda mats. That is a plus. It's got a red LED light in there. What we got? All right, so we got a headlight, factory headlight. Empty jug of oil. Turn signal light. Turn signal light. Or fog light. Either one. Windshield wiper reservoir. Another headlight. All right, so looks like we have AC lines. Receiver dryer, AC system, I believe. All right, this is good. I need this because we're gonna put power steering back in this car. They deleted the power steering, so I got the reservoir. That is good. Drive belt, window switch, AC compressor, cruise control, AC lines. What is this? Oh, well, this is cool because I didn't have a rear view mirror in there, so there it is. That's good. And don't look like I have the power steering pump in here, but it looks like I have the pulley and the bracket. That's good. All right, cool. And looks like we got solenoids for the transmission. So they've been probably having problems with the transmission for quite some time now. We have a factory part right here. And it looks like an oil pressure sensor. So this is good. And a shift knob. Look at that. What is this? What brand is that? Type S. Whatever. Alright, well, it looks like that's that. It looks like the timing cover as well. Right here. Because on the engine, it's missing. Also looks like I have a brand new factory valve cover gasket. So last episode y'all saw me tune the customer's Prelude, and he wanted to put the factory seat back in, and wheeled and dealed on the price of what he owed me and gave me this to compensate some of what he owed me. So I'm not going to put this in the Prelude. It does have Prelude brackets, but honestly I like the way that the factory seats feel over this one. I got this because I'm not really fond of the seats in the Z31 Turbo. So I think if I get a what do you call it, a seat bracket, and I can mount that seat onto the bracket and see how that looks in the Z31 Turbo. I don't know. Or if not, I don't like it, then I can sell it. I can always sell it, right? So earlier with me talking crap about the car being slammed and everything, it's not that I am against it. I'm all about form follows function. And I'm going to get some coilovers, and it will be suited for this ride height. And I need to raise up the car a little bit. Now I am limited to the 16-inch wheels at the time. So I'm going to go ahead and cheat it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a step bigger on the tire size so that I can get a nice stance with it and have better clearance issues as I drive. So these have 205, 45, 16s. And I'm going to go ahead and put on some 205 50 16s. Now that will give me a little bit bigger, a taller sidewall and a little bit wider as opposed to these. So these tires are going to come off. Those new ones will come on. I'll put some cheaper coilovers on it, get the ride height and the stance right, so that I can drive over bumps and everything and not scrape over every single bump like it's doing. Now this suspension is worn out, so you hit bumps, it bottoms out and everything. It feels real sloppy. So definitely will be a come up, and that's what I plan to do as far as that. So all right, so I have another Prelude automatic ECU to use as reference just to see. Now this is out of a 98, I believe, and it's a P5M L54. I couldn't even find L54 on that page that had the A52 listed, but you know what? OBD1 and OBD2 connectors are completely different, and this plugs into the factory harness, and there's no jumpers. So I am 100% sure, well, I wouldn't say 100, I would say I am 99% sure that this is for this car, and they just put the engine swap in without changing the injectors. I don't want to, you know, have to dig into the injectors and look up part numbers. I already ordered the injectors. I'm just going to go ahead and swap them out and see what happens then, and I'll compare those at that time. For the price that I paid for the injectors, it really wasn't much, so no harm, no foul, right? I'll just have extra parts to add with my stockpile of other Honda stuff. Alright, so on the rear bumper, it looks like it has a little bit of a lip, and it is pretty rough like the rest of the car, but it is plastic or rubber or whatever like the rest of the bumper. So that's good. I did notice the side skirts right here. These are fiberglass. You hear the difference? So these are fiberglass, and they are held in with some regular screws. That's a no-go. It needs to be cleaned up and fastened better. But I would need to look online, because honestly, I would like a set of polyurethane or plastic ones as opposed to these fiberglass ones. The front bumper is missing a front lip, and that desperately needs a front lip, so we're gonna go ahead and get us a front lip and put that on there just to give it a full ground effect looking kit, and I think that'll be good. Now the car itself needs paint. The door has a ding in it, like they hit something, but I'd rather it be on a door than on a quarter panel, right? But as far as the body goes, there's no hail damage, and that is very rare here in Amarillo, because we get a lot of hail during the season. And that's one thing I noticed about this car. There's no hail dings on it, so this thing is a perfect candidate for me to sand down, prime, and paint. I'm not a paint expert. I'm gonna get that clear right now. I'm just looking for something better than this, right? All right, so I let time pass and gravity do its thing, and yeah, it's not looking good, guys. It looks like we have a crack right there, and it's leaking down. And this ain't sealed all the way because they probably don't have a good crush washer on there. But yeah, looks like I need an oil pan. Alright guys, as you can see, the Prelude needs a little bit of work, but it ain't that bad. The worst case is the oil pan, so I'm gonna get my hands on another one, get that swapped out, get that leak taken care of. But I started a list of parts that I'm gonna need, and I'm gonna start ordering things and get those in so that we can get this thing up and going and get it right? So talking about H series parts, the Civic back here, it has a H to B swap in it, right? So this is coming out. This engine's messed up. I bored it too much. I bought high compression pistons, and I bored it over too much because these blocks have fiber reinforced sleeves. I didn't know at the time. You can't bore these out. So I bored it out way past the limit, and it smokes. So that block is junk. It's gonna come out, and I got a K-swap over here. There. That's gonna go into there. And this will come out, and then I have a slew of parts, and also got a nice skunk intake manifold on that. So I'll be grabbing the best parts and getting everything together, and then I want to build a turbo H22 and have a manual trans, and then when I have everything put together and ready, we'll go ahead, pull this engine out, and throw a turbo H22 in there, or if I get my hands on another blue top, one of those, whatever, and we will boost this thing and tune it. And as far as the tuner goes, on this car, I have the Honda S300, right? Right here. So like I said, man, one of the main things I need to get is the manual swap stuff, and I need another block, or I'll just do some digging, see if I could get the parts that I need in order to do a little engine build on the side. You know, it'd be as I go later on, episodes down, once I get everything, just do an engine build, right? Engine build, and then once I have everything together, roll this thing in here, and then we'll swap it out. That'll be later, right? It's just goals, man. Me thinking out loud, goals here on the channel. You know what I'm talking about. If you guys are here for the first time, haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. This stuff like this goes down all the time on this channel, and content galore, man, because I do this stuff for a living, and I got plenty of content. I got some parts in now, guys. I need to get busy on customer stuff, so I hope y'all like this episode. Y'all know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Peace out, bro.